Now let's dive straight into the conversation of today. Today I have the privilege of engaging in a conversation of paramount importance. And joining me today are two eminent voices to discuss the role of traditional rulers in maintaining national security and sustainable development. I would like to introduce High Chief Kaska Okosu, JP. He's the Dorubasi of One Eleme local government area in Rivers State. Hello, High Chief. Good afternoon.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you. I also have the Emir of Lafia, His Royal Highness Honorable Justice Sidi Bagay Mohammed I, a Justice of the Supreme Court, retired, Emir of Lafia and Baribari, and Chairman, Nasarawa State Traditional Council of Chiefs. Welcome to Lens on Africa, sir.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to have you join me this evening.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we're talking about the role of traditional rulers in maintaining national security and sustainable development. Emir, sir, I'd like to start with you. What would you say constitutes national security?
Well, good evening to all. National security implements how secure can we keep ourselves so as to give way to legitimate and legal activities of people unhindered by any kind of obstacle,
okay, sir.
any kind of object that can tamper with the normal life of our people. That is to say that the people must enjoy some degree of freedom, some degree of liberty, some degree of having a free air to exist like any other person on the surface of the earth. But here we're more concerned about our country. How can we keep our people free from any form of criminality or things that could hinder their normal way of life? That is national security.
All right. Thank you very much, Emir, sir. Hi, Chief. I would like to... Hi, Chief. Can you hear me, sir?
I'm here.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so I would like to ask you your own perspective on national security. The Emir has mentioned that, freedom for the people who are in a particular locality or nation, rather. I would like to have your perspective. Is it any different from what he has mentioned?
It's not actually different.
Okay.
For a national security agenda to be executed, let the people have freedom of movement. Let them not be harassed by external aggression or internal insurrection. Let people have freedom to go to their workplace, have freedom to move around unhindered.
All right.
That is the way I see. Nobody should stop you from going to produce their food from your farm. Nobody should stop you from doing genuine business within the entity called Nigeria.
Okay.
A government should be able to provide for the security of people to move freely back and forth within their areas of jurisdiction.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. I'll go to the Emir now. I want to ask, how do you think that national security influences sustainable development, especially at the grassroots level?
Well, I think there is no gainsaying the fact that without security, you cannot record any kind of development, meaningful development. So security is the backbone to any meaningful development. So you have to create an atmosphere where people can flourish without any kind of intimidation or harassment from those that may not necessarily give them that kind of free atmosphere to operate in a normal basis. So my view is that at the very basic level, this had not been so much of a challenge in those days. But today it has posed a great challenge to us. Maybe when we get deep into the discussion, we may find out that we had our experience of how we were managing security vis-a-vis what we are doing now. Has really given us an answer to the challenges that we're faced with today. So I think that basically and especially at the grassroots level, security was handled. Maybe people may look at it as if it were a rudimentary way of handling things, but that gave results. As against what today we have, which is formal, which is more regimented, which is one that has to do with people that are formally trained to handle the issue of security. Then we compare the two, which is the result that either has produced. But maybe it may be relevant or not, but at the time when the security situation was handled by the local traditional rulers of the past, we had results as against what we have today. And basically, there are so many reasons why. And if time will permit, we'll be able to say those reasons why results then were made, and today there's problem of not having the desired results, even though so much resources, time and personnel is put into management of security, but yet the result is not one that we can be able to rejoice about.
All right. Okay, sir. So if I understand you correctly, you're saying that back in the days when traditional rulers handled the issue of security, it was more effective than what is obtainable now, regardless of better structure.
Much more effective. And if they will have the opportunity today, it is not too late in the day.
I see.
They could still do better.
All right.
In my view.
Okay.
What is happening, what is currently happening on ground.
All right. Hi, Chief. I'm going to ask you if you agree with him or not, or if you would just maybe localize the question to your own area in other local government area in Rivers State. Do you think that traditional rulers handling the issue of security for sustainable development is more effective, or the process and the system we have currently now? Which would you say is more effective?
We do. I think if traditional rulers are allowed actually to handle the situation at the grassroots level, it's a workable idea. These traditional rulers are those who live with the people at the grassroots level. They know the parents, the villages of everybody in the community. If anybody commits any infraction, they know how to track him down. So why not allow the traditional rulers, empower them properly? Let there be legislation to empower them and ensure that they carry out their duty the way they should be done. And they should also be properly funded. They can track with whatever level of criminality down to the grass and the nooks and crannies of their community. Traditional rulers know they are the custodian of the culture and tradition of the people. So it is assumed that they have been brought by the gods of the land. So people are scared of going against the rules of the community. If they allow them, if you observe in the pre-independence era, when the chiefs were actually allowed to do their job properly before the infiltration of politics, the traditional rulers controlled their members of their society and their communities. So much that development, the few development that came from the early 60s till now, we are all through traditional rulers, because they can now talk in the language their people understand and convey the messages. The traditional rulers were those who held firmly to all the traditional aspects of rulership. They know that if you steal, there is a penalty for that. They knew how to do it and handle members of their society. And it's a taboo to hear that somebody from a particular family has stolen. They will call it the name it should be called. These days, it has been glorified. They turn it to embezzlement. They call it misappropriation, making the name look sweet. Why not say this man is a thief? And then we know, and the world goes for. In most communities, that there have been so many incursions from outside the country or outside different territories to disrupt the peace of the place. If you observe, no company, nobody wants to come and develop that place. it remains in perpetual penury. And the use of this area in order to they take the laws into their hands to help themselves, which is totally out of place. I think traditional rulers should be allowed to go back to their old role. Now politics has bastardized the old traditional institution. I'm sorry to say that, but that's true. Before, the traditional rulers are seen as being sent by their gods or deities to them. Today, people carry different jackets and go on the street and look for those to rule. And governments of the day support them. So we have problem. Why not allow this rulership to evolve the normal way? Or in areas where it is hereditary, it seems a little bit better. But in areas where you can, any illustrious son comes up, to assume that he is a traditional ruler because one government or the other has supported him to do so, then it's a problem. So let us go back to the old system. And also, my little advice to the traditional institutions, let us carry our mothers, the women, along. Women are those who carry this pregnancy of these children for 9 months. A lot of children tend to listen to their mothers more. That milk of human kindness is safe in motherhood. Why not involve more women at the grassroots level so that we can have peace and development? If there is no development, then it means there is no job for people to do. And we'll still run into the same problem. So I agree with the Royal Highness, being an eminent jurist from his own line of thought.
All right, sir. Now, Hi Chief, I'm still going to ask you a question. You mentioned that back in the days, the traditional rulers knew the people, everyone knew everyone, and it was a thing of shame and disgrace to a person's family name if they were caught stealing. Now, there have been a lot of influences. You will agree with me, sir. There has been a lot of influences from the international space with technology and with the internet. The world is now a global village. Do you think that the traditional rulers or the traditional institution can still be as effective as it was in the beginning, pre-colonial times? Do you think it will still be effective if it was left to handle the issue of security?
Okay, the issue of technology is another big challenge. And that will take us back to our respective homes. What are the home values we were keeping those days? Today, parents are seen crisscrossing the globe, looking for one job or the other. Nobody to take care of the home front. Parents abandon their children to outside. Therefore, they are liable to fall into wrong hands. You don't know what they are watching on the internet. You don't know what is good for a particular age group to consume. They allow them just to jump into the world. They want to explore. The traditional institution has a lot of job to still do by advising parents at home front. You don't just because of the chase and pursuit of funds, financial emolument, and then abandon the home front. You are bringing back into society children that will terrorize the whole society. If at the home front you are not able to control your home, then that is it. You cannot lump it on the traditional ruler. Traditional ruler will do his bit.
His best,
by advising and talking to parents.
Okay. All right. Now let's talk about adaptation. We know that times have changed. We're now in contemporary times. Let's talk about adaptation. How do you think, this question is going to you, His Royal Highness, how do you think that the traditional rulers that we have now can synergize with the times to still have an effective administration or to still have an effective role they play in national security and social development? Because like you mentioned, sir, earlier, these two go hand in hand. We can't have development if there is no security. So, yes, go ahead, sir.
Well, thank you very much. You see, you cannot appreciate this better unless you go back to history and then compare that with the contemporary times which you are talking about.
Yes.
And see whether there is a significant change from the past and the present.
Okay.
My view is that there is not so much of a significant difference between the past and the present. What happened during when the colonial administration came in, the first thing they considered was the vastness of the country. They saw how large the country was. And then as against the administrative mega resources and personnel that they had. So after studying that, they decided that, especially in the northern part of the country, and of course in the southern protectorate, to go by what was called the indirect rule.
Okay.
It gave results because the traditional rulers were left with certain areas to handle. Most importantly, the issue of security, which is the main object that we are talking about today. Yeah, like the chief said, there is no person that could better appreciate your terrain other than yourself. So the idea which we had of having a unified security force for the country after the coming in of the military and the thinking of having a unitary kind of system of governance of the country did not produce the desired results. This is because people from across the country were sent to places which were rather new to them.
Okay.
And they were sent there to maintain order and security in those places. That is not possible. During the colonial days, when security was handled by the traditional rulers, like the High Chief said, each community, no matter how small, how remote it was, each one knows who is there and who is not there. If there is any strange behavior, it is easily noticeable because you know me and I know you.
Okay.
Simply. That's it. Now, the result was that every place was manned, including the forest areas. Because during the time the traditional rulers were in charge, it wasn't only the urban or where people were normally found in larger cluster settings. Our forests were manned. We are manned because the traditional rulers had a structure to send people to go and sleep in the forest to take care of even the forest area. That is not happening today. Most of what is happening today is that the larger portion of security is only in urban and in developed areas. The forests and other areas are left unmanned and checked. And so you have this large gap between maintaining security in the city and having those of them who will find heaven in those forests that is left without check to wage war against you in the city.
Okay, so how?
This is traditional rulers.
Yes, sir. So
they have the capacity and structure that can go deep down to the local, the most basic level to handle the issue of security.
Okay.
And because of the vastness of the country, as it was appreciated by the colonial past, it is still the same thing. The vastness of the country will not even allow, even the contemporary time today, for the government, because the resources available cannot be able to handle as much. And that's why you have limited number of security people to handle the issue of security.
Okay, so what are you proposing, Emir, sir?
This country of 200, maybe 200 and 250 million people.
Yes.
You have less than 4 million, maybe. If you do have to handle security of 250 million people, that is impossible.
Okay. Okay, so what do you propose, sir?
Allow them handle it and you are done.
All right. So what is your recommendation in that regard? Seeing as we're looking at a merger of the traditional institution as well as, you know, contemporary security parastatals. How would you propose that happen? Yes.
Those powers, which were then during the colonial past,
yes,
they were made by instruments of the extant laws as at then. The traditional rulers were cited into the constitution and given responsibility. We are asking that today, do this. Find a portion in the constitution and cite the traditional rulers, assign responsibility to them, part of which is the issue of this security. The conventional security can still go on with their normality, but then give them some power to handle the local issues.
All right. Okay.
Forget about the changes in technology today. Forget about where we are. Forget about the internet. What we are talking is the practical sense of it.
Okay.
Human management can only be possible if it can be handled at the basic level.
Okay.
Basic level. That is basic. And that is the best way you can handle security.
All right, sir. Thank you very much for your view, Emir. Now, let's talk about some of the things, the factors that weaken the performance of traditional rulers. Hi, Chief. What would you pinpoint and say these are the things that weakens the activities or performance or results from traditional rulers?
Unnecessary government interference in the discharge of traditional functions.
Okay.
Unnecessary government interference. A situation where the governor has the power to hire and fire a traditional ruler. The government did not appoint them.
Okay.
Government only gives them certificate of recognition. Even though their people, their community persons have recognized them, government tends to infiltrate into the activities of the traditional institution without even proper funding. I think the government of the day should actually give a constitutional role where they know they can play along and then assist in security. Security is everybody's business. It's not the business of government. You and I are involved in security. We must join hands to ensure that our environment is secure. We must keep an eagle's eye over our environment. The traditional rulers are actually doing a lot in protecting and guarding their communities. Unfortunately, due to government interference, government has appointed their stooges as traditional rulers. And if you watch a short community, so many upheavals, so many confusion coming up there. And that is not going to go well for any community. The grassroots people we know are the traditional rulers. Allow them, give them free hand to function. All what government is doing now is to hire and fire traditional rulers, then call them Council of Chiefs. Before now, we used to have the House of Chiefs in the 60s. They were part of the legislation of their respective regions. Today it's not like that. It's a glorified Council of Chiefs. Sorry, Your Majesty, Your Highness, he knows the Honorable Justice knows what I'm saying. That is a fact. Now government creates a Council of Chiefs, which is purely ceremonial, to the best of my knowledge, and go there and give them handouts, give instructions. How can they come back home and function properly? If that government loses power, another government that comes will dethrone him and bring another one. We make a caricature of the traditional institution. It's not supposed to be so. How do you expect a stable security environment when you are hiring and firing traditional ruler at the grassroots level? Any government that comes, if he supports you, you allow him to go. If he doesn't support you, remove him. So many highly placed traditional rulers have suffered that fate across our country, from north down to the sea here. The same thing. Why can't we allow the traditional institution to keep? At the traditional institutional level, they have their own structure. They have the youths, they have the women leadership, they have opinion leaders, they have the religious leaders, and so forth. These are also the traditional rulers to maintain law and order in the society. But today, government have their own youths, they have different groups. So how can these people function? If there is any breakdown of law and order, you depose the traditional ruler, some of them are locked up. So you desecrate that highly revered institution. It's not supposed to be so.
Thank you very much for that. My final question, talking about international collaborations, do you see a need for it, Your Royal Highness? Do you think there's any need for traditional rulers or traditional institutions to have international collaborations for the purpose of not just national security, but development as well for their communities? And if yes, how can it be made possible?
Well, thank you very much for that question. Things can always be possible.
Yes.
If you have an enabling law on ground. It is the law that makes room for whatever process that you want to see come into reality. It is when you have good laws on ground, then you are covered. International cooperation is built by basically some of those conventions that can tie people together because they are maybe thinking alike and have things that are maybe basically common to them. So the traditional rulers of today are not like the past traditional rulers that you are talking about. Today you have amongst the cycle of the traditional rulers in the country, one of the best that you can So it's not the local traditional rulers we're talking about.
I see.
It's not.
Okay.
You see people leaving universities now going to become traditional rulers. You see generals leaving the army.
Yes.
You look at me, a retired
Justice of the Supreme Court.
Supreme Court.
Yeah.
It's not that I was, in fact, it wasn't the time for me to retire. I voluntarily retired from the Supreme Court to take my traditional office.
Okay.
So these are things that this country can make use of.
Okay.
Amongst the traditional rulers in this country, you have one of the best crops that can help in fostering international cooperation in whatever given respect. And we have things that are basically in common across the board. Why is it that today you have those you can call the developed world still maintain their traditional system, traditional ways of life, and maintain the traditional rulers? If you call them the traditional, because they are, basically, because they are basically a product of the tradition of the people that have kept them and continue to keep them. Look at what is happening in Britain today. Look at all the places of the world where monarchy is still happening. It is something that is in tandem today with whatever kind of development that can come to it. So I think that the traditional institution in this country is open.
All right. Thank you very much.
You have people and manpower that can create that synergy you are talking about.
Oh, sorry about that. But thank you so much, His Royal Highness, the Emir of Lafia. Thank you so much. Also, High Chief Koska Ogosu JP Dorubasi of One in LMA local government area of Rivers State. Thank you so much, sirs, for your time. It's been quite an interesting conversation. But because of time, we're going to have to end it here. I look forward to having another conversation like this with you in the nearest future. Thank you once again, sirs, for your time.